So Sony ZV-1 Mark II, it finally got the wide angle lens, but for me it's still lacking one feature that would make me definitely buy it. But more about that in a second. Hey everyone, mariuszgajdzik here, and in this video we're gonna be doing a review of Sony ZV-1 Mark II, which I've been able to get my hands on thanks to Sony Poland when I was making some content about the camera for them. So yeah, the camera was lent to me by them, but this video isn't sponsored by them. It's all based on my opinion. Having that out of the way, let's go to the lens first. And the lens is 18 to 50 millimeters lens, which I feel like it's finally a lens for vlogging on vlogging camera. I really like that. I really like that 18mm is super nice for vlogging when it comes to this sort of camera and when it comes to using this camera with the active stabilization. For me, the previous camera, the ZV-1, the 24 to 70 lens on that, when you use the active stabilization, and you kind of have to when you want to vlog on that camera handheld, it didn't really work for me for vlogging. It's just not wide enough. I think just this camera and this lens is just a much better combo for handheld vlogging, using that camera and that lens for handheld vlogging with the active stabilization. So I really like that. The lens is 1.8 to f4 aperture, so we have 1.8 on 18mm and we have f4 on 50mm. So that could be one downside compared to the ZV-1 where you had 24 to 70 from 1.8 to 2.8. So it was letting more light on the closed end, but I think we gonna be using that camera, or people gonna be using that camera mostly in good lighting scenarios. So like bright days, studio setups and that kind of stuff. So I don't think that f4 compared to f2.8 is gonna be too much of a difference. And when it comes to the reach, we can use the clear image zoom to be able to zoom in to about 75mm or equivalent to 75mm without losing any quality, so that's super nice too. We still have the built-in ND, 3-stop ND. We cannot change the stop value, we have only 3-stop ND, but I feel like this is still super nice that we still have that built-in ND, because we can use it to have more blurred out backgrounds without cranking our shutter speed too much when using the 18mm with 1.8. so I'm a fan of this ND filter still being here. We also get the same sensor as with the ZV-1, which is the 20 megapixel sensor, and we also get pretty much the same specs when it comes to filming, so 4K up to 30 frames per second, which I'm pretty sad we don't have 60 frames per second on the camera, because I think if it had the 60 frames per second, it would be bought much more by people and I would probably buy it too. But when it comes to HD, it has up to 120 FPS, and I think that's completely fine over here, so you should be happy with HD. The next thing that I wish they would change in this camera would be the 10-bit recording instead of 8-bit. Sadly, we only get 8-bit, but I'm kind of not too concerned about this, because for most people that are gonna buy this camera and use this camera, the 8-bit should be completely fine. But if it had 10-bit and 4K 60, that would definitely make me buy this camera. The autofocus is still very good. It has human IIF, and now it also gets the animal IIF compared to the previous ZV-1, which is super nice, because if we're gonna be recording animals like our dogs or cats or other animals you want to record, this autofocus is gonna detect their eye and you're gonna be sure that you have your pet or some other animals you want to record in focus. We also get a new menu here, which we first got in FX3 and A7 IV and all the cameras after that. So this is nice because we can use that menu with touch and we can easily set up our camera, so I'm a fan of this new menu being here as well. And we also get the new main screen touch options, so we can select pretty much any option that we want to change and change it via touch. So we can basically use our camera pretty much like iPhone and set it up much easier, which I think for many younger people or for many people that gonna want to use camera in an easy way is gonna be a nice addition. We also get the new Cine Vlog feature, which is gonna crop our footage from top and bottom and will enable us to change the colors of the footage to make it more cinematic, and I'm happy that it's here, but I wish we would have an option of changing if we want to crop the footage or just change the colors of the footage. So if we could disable cropping the footage from the top and bottom would be nice. Sadly, we don't have that feature, so hopefully we get that with the firmware, or with the next camera they're gonna allow us to change that crop or like disable this crop and only use the cinematic vlog for changing the frame rate to 24 or 25 frames per second and changing the colors of our footage. And when it comes to colors and talking about colors, we still get the S-Log profiles and the Cine profiles, but sadly we don't get the new S-Cine tone that the FX3 or A7 IV or the more professional cameras have, which I'm kind of sad about because I wish it had that, because it would be nice to have this sort of nicer looking, nicer color, not so contrasty profile in this camera, because the standard profile of that camera is kind of contrasty and I had to decrease that contrast a little bit when it comes to setting up that camera. So I wish they would implement S-Cine tone in this camera, but they didn't, so nothing I can do. Nice feature that I really like was the fact that we can set the exposure to face priority. So if we are vlogging and we're using auto or half auto modes, like program modes, we're gonna be able to set the exposure to our face, and we're gonna be able to trust the camera that is gonna set nice exposure so our face is exposed correctly, and it won't care too much about overexposing or underexposing the background if it's too bright or too light, so the face is actually lit or exposed properly. And I really like that for those people who are not so experienced and don't know how to set it up properly. The camera is gonna do the work for them. When it comes to the low light, the work is pretty nice. We have the ISO up to 12,800, but I wouldn't recommend going as far. I would probably stick to 6,400 max, and I think for this price point the quality is pretty good. I also tested the overheating of the camera in 25 Celsius in summer in Poland, and I didn't get the camera to overheat, so I wouldn't be worried about overheating on that camera. We still get the same 3 mic capsule over here built in that we get in ZV-1, ZV-1F, ZV-E1, ZV-E10, so all the ZV cameras, but here we also get the new feature which is gonna be able to let us change the direction of the mic recording, so we can record from front, from back and front, or automatically where the camera is gonna decide for us. This is the test of the mic and it's in auto mode, so if I'm in frame it will be picking up only from the front, but if I turn around the camera it should pick up from the back as well, so you should hear me clearly over here as well. Now I've changed it to only front, so if I speak to the camera from the front it's gonna hear me very well, but if I turn around the camera you shouldn't be hearing me too well. Now it's set to both directions, so you should be hearing me very well right now, but also when I turn around the camera you should be hearing me very clearly. And in the back settings, which it is set to now, you shouldn't be able to hear me too well now, but when I turn around the camera you should be able to hear me much better. And I really like that we have that feature from the ZV-E1 that we didn't have on the ZV-1. That's gonna be very nice for recording vlogs for sure. And we also get the Sony multi-interface Hotshoe over here, which is analog, so you won't be able to use the digital microphones on digital setting. So you can use microphone like G1 for example, and it's gonna work fine, but if you want to use the more professional microphones like the ECM1 and ECMB1M and ECMB10, you're gonna have to use them in the analog option, not the digital option. And I think that Hotshoe also doesn't supply the power for the wireless mics, so keep that in mind. We get the upgraded USB port here, which is USB-C, where previously it was micro USB, and that's really nice because that's gonna allow us for quick charging the camera. And we get the same battery with not so good battery life, so it's gonna be nice to be able to charge it quicker thanks to that USB-C port. And that USB-C port is gonna allow us also to stream over that USB-C to our computer to use our camera as a webcam or to streaming. And we're gonna be able to use HD here, not full HD sadly, so I wish it was full HD, but HD quality should be okay over here too. The tripod mount is now on the other side of the camera, which is good because in the previous camera ZV-1 we had to remove the tripod to open the battery door and take our battery or SD card out of the camera. Now we don't have to do that, we can still have our tripod connected and open our camera's battery door to remove the battery or the SD card. The camera also supports a new creators app, so that's gonna be good because it will work with the newer app that probably all the Sony cameras are gonna roll into now. Sadly, we still get the screen dimming when it comes to recording in 4K mode, so that's gonna be kind of annoying. Sadly, Sony got rid of the HFR mode that on ZV-1 was letting us to record up to 1000 frames per second, and while the quality of it wasn't too nice, the fact that we had this option was nice to be able to play with slow motion and maybe get people into slow motion more. So I wished on that camera on ZV-1 Mark II they actually improved that mode, improved the quality of it instead of just getting rid of it. But I cannot do much about it, so I'm not gonna cry about it too much, but I wish we actually get the improved HFR instead of getting rid of it. Another thing that is worse than ZV-1 over here is the electronic only shutter. We don't get the mechanical shutter like we did in the ZV-1 Mark I. ZV-1 Mark II only has electronic shutter, so we only gonna be able to do single shots, no continuous shooting. But if it's something that doesn't bother you too much, you can still shoot photos in RAW or JPEG and not only in JPEG like in ZV-1F. I've mentioned the battery before, it's still the same battery as in the ZV-1, which is gonna last us about 1 hour. But it's gonna take about half an hour to fully charge it now, so that should be a plus when it comes to using that camera. But I would still recommend to have at least a couple of batteries when using that camera for filming. At the day of filming this video, the camera cost about $800, which is more expensive than the ZV-1 at the beginning when it started selling. But I kind of understand why, because the inflation and all the prices going up and all the new technology in the camera, the price went up a little bit. I think the camera would sell much better if the price would stay at the same level as on the ZV-1, but I do understand why it got higher. So to summarize, in my opinion, the ZV-1 Mark II is a great camera for beginner vloggers or people who just want a small camera, like small all-in-one camera that's gonna have a lens built in, that you're not gonna worry about which lens you want to shoot with. I think it's gonna be a very good choice for those people. And as to me, I wish this camera had the 4K 60. If it had 4K 60, I would probably get it, and if it had 4K 60 with 10-bit, I would definitely get it. So for the moment, I'm gonna stick without this camera and just keep using my FX3, my A7 IV, and my iPhone for recording things when I don't have my camera with. But like I said, I wish the next one, ZV-1 Mark III maybe, is gonna have 4K 60, 10-bit, and then I'm definitely gonna get it. But now you let me know what you think about this camera, if you have it, if you're planning on getting it, or if you just wanna hang out here and watch this video to see what I have to say about it. If you like this video, please leave it a like, subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos similar to this one. And I'd also love if you check out my Instagram, where I try to post daily about what's up with me and what I'm currently working on. This is everything for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one. Bye.